Good evening, all. My name is Love Always, and I'm a love addict. Okay, it says I'm one. If you didn't get a chance to check out our previous guests on the topic, the power we give words and the pain that keeps on giving, go ahead and check it out on my website, www.lovealways.today, or you can check it out here on this Facebook page that you're on currently watching this show right now. Um, So I hope that you have your teacups ready for you to get some of this healing tea today, where my guests will be talking about mixed signals and the tall tale signs. Which shoe are you wearing? Are you wearing the shoe where you're confused because someone is sending mixed signals or indecisive with you? Or do you struggle with giving hardcore true answers because you're afraid of the outcome? Or are you wearing both shoes? Then shut your mouth, but keep on talking with my guest today, Lenny Augustine from Venerable Inc. How are you today, Lenny?
I'm doing just fine, love always. It's good to be a part of your show. Um, enjoy talking to you over the week to kind of get an idea of what the topic was going to be so I can prepare myself. But it seems like from the topic, most of the folks that probably are going to be listening to us have had some of the experiences that we're going to talk about today.
Yes, yes. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Lenny Augustine, actually retired out the military a few years ago and decided to start my own business because I just couldn't work for anybody else. After spending a lot of time in the military, I couldn't do it. So I became an entrepreneur about 4 or 5 years ago. Started two companies. One is a business-to-business solution company. It's called Coalition LLC. And Coalition brings businesses together with funding partners. And as you know, you can't start a business without money. So I bring the right people together to so that they can connect and work to grow and thrive. I also started a literary agency. Had a lot of friends along the way that had written books or had books on the shelf that wanted to get their books published, worked on and published. So I told them, hey, let me work on that for you since I have time now. And that's how Venerable Inc. was born.
Sounds awesome. So Lenny, have you had any experience with the subject that we're talking today, as far as whether it's with business or with dealing any with other people? You know how people give you mixed signals, or they're just indecisive about a situation.
I've had experiences both on the personal side and relationships wise, as well as on the business side, as well as in the military. So I kind of break business down, military, because that's a different environment. Business now, post military, as I'm working with different network partners, and then relationship wise, I have. So where do you want to start? Ask your questions because I'm interested in finding out what you curious about.
Well,
Let me.
let's start with relationships, because a lot of people wanna, hear about, as far as relationships, especially, when us women, because you're a guy on our show, the first guy, congratulations. But
I
you
feel
know,
privileged.
yes. So, we'll get these things where a guy might give us a runaround, or like when I was growing up, our parents would tell us, if the guy don't take you home to meet his mom or his family and different things. But then you have people with different, like they come up with these good excuses as to why they haven't, or there might be an issue in certain things. Like, is that the truth, or should we pay attention to those signs? And
Well, I think a couple of things, and relationship is about dynamics and chemistry and just so many other things. Expectations, sometimes true expectations, false expectations. But as you know, it normally starts off with boy meet girl or girl meet boy, or in today's environment, it can be girl and girl, boy and boy. It's all good either way. We respect all relationships of all forms and types, but that meeting starts that way. I can start off through infatuation, where you look at someone and say, "Hey, you know, I want to get to know that person," and then proceed with a conversation. Or it can happen where that conversation comes to you, where you're minding your own business, you in the store, in the grocery store, you in the line, somebody finds you attractive or finds you interested. It's not even attractive. It can be just interesting because of, just how you carry yourself. And they approach you, or you approach, or you approach them. And in doing so, the conversation starts. Now, the weird thing about relationships is that there's that outer expression of the relationship taking place, but there's also an inner expression taking place where in your mind you're saying, you know what, I like this person, I want to get to know that person. But outside you're like, okay, there's some reservation, so you got to pick and choose your words correctly because you don't want to offend anybody. So usually during that initial phase of the introduction, you will starting to decide, either as the individual being approached or as the person approaching, how now to balance these signals. And usually during that point, those signals can get crossed.
So, like in your experience as far as relationship, like, can you give us an example?
Yes, I'm a little more blunt than most, but there's times when I choose to be reserved, especially if I find someone fascinating, not just beautiful, not just interesting, but fascinating. And I would qualify fascinating as someone with a diverse experience. You've been around the world, you've done a lot of things, you've been independent for a very long time, you've overcome, significant challenges in your life, and you're standing, you're an advocate, you're just out there doing this thing. And so you've transitioned through a variety of stages of life that very few people get the opportunity to do. Yeah. So at that point, I'm like, okay, how you doing? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding on that one.
Say, shut your mouth and keep on talking.
But yeah. But usually during that point, I begin to start, the conversation starts, and I've ran into a case of mistaken identity where I find someone fascinating, and then during the conversation, I realize that person, a lot of their journey was just accidental, just rolling, just time, just moving them from one situation to another situation. And by doing that, they've grown to become the person that they are. But getting back to your question, I have had situations where I myself have had thrown mixed signals, but didn't recognize that I was. And I think I mentioned to you last week that I had one very unique situation where I had a very, very good friend. And we had I want to call the relationship open in that there was no promises made. There was no, we're going to hook up or we're going to do some fancy things. My approach to relationship is about making great memories. So my commitment is to the memory. And as a part of that, if we are both committed to creating just awesome memories, then what happens is I believe our relationship is formed through that process. That's my personal belief. But anyway, so I'm with this person. We're hanging out. We're going out dancing. We're eating in fancy places. We're laughing. We're joking. We're just balling everywhere we go. And then one day, actually, it was a few years later. We were hanging out for about 4 years. And on the 4th year, we were riding, going to a movie, and then followed by a dance. And she looked at me. I'm tired of being with you and not knowing where I stand. At that point, I was like, what? What? Where you stand? I'm like, you're not standing. You in the car and we rolling. You're not standing. Be like, what you mean? So I'm a little clown, so I'm gonna start to clown, right? But I realized in the moment that sometimes women, when they say certain things and you start clowning, it ain't that funny. So she's like, it ain't funny. We ain't talking about me sitting in the car.
Say, look, you had to shut your mouth because you was learning a lesson, but then you keep on talking so you didn't get
stuck. Exactly.
Oh, that's that Mr. Right.
So I had to. So in that moment, I began to realize that she was really serious. So, but a part of me was, I went into denial, and I believe most men go into denial when a woman begin to take a serious tone, because they don't know. It's like I don't want to offend her. I want to keep her because me and her were cool and we just doing this thing. But then she seems to be directing us in a different direction. Now I'm not sure actually I recognize the direction that she wants to go in, but I'm resistant. So automatically the resistance came into play. So, but to make the long story short, she looked at me and said, Lenny, I feel like I'm wasting my time with you. I'm really, thought that after all these years of spending time with you, we would have gotten together and our relationship would have blossomed where we would call ourselves either boyfriend or girlfriend, or having a level of intimacy that's linked to being a boyfriend or girlfriend. And I paused for a minute and it got quiet for a few miles. Because at this point, I'm thinking I'm going down the hill, though, because I'm going down like a mug. And I don't want to even have a parachute. And she got me, and she got my parachute. I was going down. She like, I got your parachute. I don't know where you going, but I got your parachute. I'm like, I got to jump out this car now, and I ain't even know. I was having problems in there, but I'm trying to look a little serious. I was like, I'm not sure how to respond to this. So let's see what happened after a few miles. But yeah, it just so happened that I believe in that moment that the signals were mixed. And I believe that I was the one that, according to her testimony later on, that, just having all this fun and just doing all these wonderful things together led her to believe that I had chosen or made up my mind that she was the only woman in my life, and that it was important for her, in her mind, it was important for me to create that level of commitment. So mixed signals on my part. She didn't say up front that, hey, I'm looking for a man, my disclaimer is like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that I can create great memories. I'm not actually looking in a sense, but when I encounter people, is that the memories of, what can we create together is actually my number one priority versus, I want to hook up with you for the rest of your life or for a moment, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So what you think?
You know what? I like that, but I'm going to take a quick pause. And I'm going to give you a random fact. So while you guys let that sink in, and if you have any questions, get them prepared or put them up there on the screen. And so one of my random facts that while my kids and I were searching, did you know that Saddam Hussein was the author of a romantic novel called Zabiba and the King? It was originally published anonymously in 2000.
Wow.
I looked it up. That was cool.
It's amazing that someone, that was that, with that level of insanity going on with him had a part of him. But I guess we all do have a softer side of him. That's pretty cool.
Some romance in him, huh?
Great facts. Because I believe
you would never guess that, right?
Exactly. And I was about to say that.
Cynical or I don't know about war, I don't know, but not love and romance.
Right.
I was thinking about going to the library and getting it and checking it out.
Me too. It sounds like a good book. But I know for a fact that there's nothing like an awesome woman, alongside you doing the greatest struggles as well as the greatest moments of your life. I know the value of that. I recognize that. Unfortunately, towards the end of my transition from home as a teenager into the military, I recognized that from my father's and my mother's relationship, how they valued each other in a way that, no matter how hard things got, they had each other's back. So I kind of grew up, have in my mind that the only type of woman that I would run with is the type that, have my back and allow me to have her back as well.
Okay. Well, back to what you were saying.
Let's talk about it.
that was a very, interesting story, and like you were saying that, all the time she had in her head what it was that she was anticipating and hoping for. And I'll also say, like, I'm more like you. I'll be upfront and I'll tell a guy, hey, look, I want to know what type of relationship this is, because it looked like we got some chemistry here going. And I'm gonna tell you like this: I'm the type of woman that I'm looking forward to getting married. So if it don't look like it's going nowhere, I'll tell you something. But if you just saying it's a friendship, then cool, I'm gonna keep it at that. But I don't want to be feeling like I'm being led off. And then I give them the opportunity to say that up front, because like if I feel like there's some chemistry here, I'm just call it out for the moment.
Yeah.
And so but if but I can't say that I've done that all the time. There have been times when it just seemed like, oh, it's enough chemistry here that it's, let's see where it goes kind of thing. And in my head, it'll be kind of like, like your friend or whatever and stuff. I'll be like, okay, hey, look, I have these feelings for you, and I just want to know if you're feeling that way back. And if you're not feeling that way, then I don't want to continue in this friendship, because my feelings, is already here, and I don't want to be friends and see you with somebody else kind of thing,
Right.
And that's probably where she was with all the memories built and things with that, because she was going in with that hope and whatnot, because she didn't bring that out up front.
Right.
And I know how that can be too, because you just don't bring it out up front or whatever. But I also just have this theory of whatever. If I didn't bring it out up front, then I can't do nothing but accept or expect what I get.
Right. But I've been in situations as well. I remember I had another friend. We had just met. She was in a different state, and I had just got here. And we met in the same place. And I said, hey, why don't you come through, for a weekend and just hang out? Because again, I'm about making memories. And if I find you exciting and just fascinating or interesting or the type of person that, have this, I'm willing to experience just anything, as long as we're doing it together and it's safe, dropping a safe word every now and then. And she said, yeah, I'll come through. So we had just the most awesome weekend ever, the most awesome weekend. So, so we're heading back. I'm taking her back to the airport.
And so I'm sipping my tea. I'm shutting up my
Hey, this is like me telling you a story, reading you a book from the pages.
Keep it going. Come on.
From the pages, right? I'm pulling a page for you so you can take a glimpse, right? But I'm sure I'm not the only one you have experienced some of these things. So I'm taking her back to the airport. And she said to me in the most serious of ways, and I'm a clown, like I said, I'm a clown now. And sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I be taking it a little too far.
Okay.
But she looked at me. Now, we've had this awesome weekend. I'm taking her to the airport because it's time for her to head back to her state. And she looked at me with the most serious of look. And I'm like, uh-oh. And she said, you need to tell me what the name of this relationship is, because if you don't tell me before I get on that plane, I'm not coming back.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? And now I speak a little Spanish now, so I had to break it down in Spanish. I'm like, ¿qué? Right? That's how Spanish is, like, ¿qué? Right. So I gave her that look. She's like, don't be looking at me like that. You know what I mean. I'm like, huh? What? So now I had to go Scooby-Doo, and I'm like, huh? Right? So here I am again, trapped in, and I was about to say what R. Kelly said, trapped in the closet, trying to get out. I was like, somebody's trying to trap me, and I'm trying to get out. And I said, okay, I don't understand why you are asking me this question at this point in time, because this is the first opportunity we've had to, actually get to know each other and just vibe it out and work together towards this awesome weekend. Now, maybe if we have many more awesome weekends, I might be able to qualify this relationship. So, but in her mind, evidently, and she told me after, and these women that I'm talking about, we're still great friends. But we became even better friends after the fact, because they exposed to me exactly where they were in relationship to where I thought we were. So it seems like I was having a relationship by myself with them, and they were having a different relationship with me. So, but after the fact, they were like, okay, Lenny, this is exactly how I was feeling. I had went through the same situation with other dudes. And it seems like I didn't want to go, when I met you, I didn't want to go through that with you anymore. And that seemed to be the theme across some of the relationships that I've been in. Is, I've been through it before. And now that I found someone that I think I want to really spend time with, I don't want to go through those games, right? But I'm like, yo, I'm playing no game. I'm just trying to make some great memories, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if we make great memories together, what will happen is we will get to that point where we can call this something. And if by chance it happens to end, you will always remember that, hey, at some point in your time, you was hanging out with a cool dude, and and I know I was hanging out with just a cool, young lady or lady that I would never forget, and I would always be able to call them friends.
Okay. So what is your suggestion as far as like for men and both women, as far as being on, if you're the person, because women give mixed signals as well. It's not just men. So,
that is correct.
So no matter who you are, if you have a let's say that I like a guy or whatever, and if I'm interested in this guy, should I say something, or like, how do I not give mixed signals? Like, if I'm the person, the interested party pursuing the other party, or if I'm the person, and then my second part is, if I'm the person that's hoping to be pursued by this person, how do I not get caught up in mixed signals?
There's a couple of ways to answer that question, but when you started the question, I started thinking about my sisters. I have about 9 sisters, but I have my favorite sisters, and they'll probably hear this, right? But my favorite sisters are the twins, the last ones. So I have twins in the family, but I have one sister, and I used to tell her all the time, when you go into a relationship, you have to decide whether this relationship is going to be something that you believe, that you've made up your mind after a certain period of time, that it's going to be for now or forever. Because you can't treat a for now relationship as it is forever. A forever relationship. There's 2 types of that dynamic doesn't work out so well, and usually one person will lose. So if I'm treating this relationship like it's just for now, we're just hanging out, just doing things, but you've made up your mind that this is my guy. I'm going to hook him. He's going to be my husband. Or you're going to go in already totally and completely committed without really going through the flowering of the relationship, the building part of the relationship. And most people commit even before they build. I mean, as soon as you say, "Oh, you my girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend," that's a commitment. But if I ask you, where's the foundation? How did you get to that point? You'd be like, I just made up my mind that you my man today. I'm like, but I can't be your man today. I just can't do it. So, but that's a part of the problem, right? That's a part of the problem. So the other way to answer that question is also is to decide within yourself that you have to grow a relationship. A relationship has to grow. It doesn't just form through some type of magical where all of a sudden there are relationships where people, boy meet girl and girl meet boy, or that the couple meet each other and they just know in that inner knowing. But then those are special types of relationship that transition from the soul through the spirit, and now in the moment flower into the most beautiful something that relationship that you can find. And those are not hard to figure out. But then for the rest of us who have to go through the process and the dynamics of, building things together before we can say, yes, we're good builders, or we're good creators, you should not commit at that point. Right. So I'll be a little more blunt, because I think they kind of scattered that a little bit, and hopefully it's not too vague. know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, just like when you see a piece of a cake that you've never eaten before, don't take a big bite. Take a small bite. Find out if you like it. Decide. And I don't want anybody to call me and say, well, Lenny, you know, I'm not no cake. Don't be trying to take no bite out of me now because I ain't having that. You got to put a ring on that first before you take a bite now. I don't want nobody to call me that. But yeah. But I believe there has to be a building process in their relationship. The second way I want to answer that is that communication is very important, but all communication shouldn't be verbal, right? Because I believe a woman wants to see that a man is going to help out, right? Without being told to help out. And that's communication. A man wants to see that a woman is going to help out as well. Without being told to help out. Because if you're building, you know, I've got the brick, you've got the other piece, you know, we're putting things together and we're building. So that's a good way to avoid these mixed signals along the way.
Okay. That's great. Another pause for our little, for another special fact. And I just have to laugh before I read this, and you might want to sip on your tea.
Yeah.
In 2006, a woman had a match in a flight to cover her fart smell. That forced an emergency landing. She claimed that she had a medical condition that apparently involved flashing.
What? That's a funny one. I wonder how you deal with that on the plane now.
Yeah. There's this site that has all of these random facts and that you can go and check out, you know, cross-reference them and things. And I was like, where they do that at? Shut your mouth and keep on talking.
You know.
Yep. So we're going to take a break and we're going to our next section, which is tea time with Sincerely Love Always. I hope you guys have your teacups because this is a very nice letter that I have picked out for you guys today. This letter says, Dear love, I feel scammed and cannot prove it. I was dating this guy for 2 years. I saw red flags in the sense that he tried to present his self-negatives as being humble. I tried to go with it for a bit and just be encouraging to him. And he would praise me for being an awesome girlfriend. He would ask for help and critique, but when I would offer anything or advice, he would accuse me of saying, so this is what you really been thinking of me all the time. You was just waiting for the right moment to kick me when I was down. I tried making suggestions of things we could do as a couple or offering my services to his business because our skills complement each other. Then he would accuse me of being jealous of other women, and that's why he would think that I wanted to help with his business. This after he would try to paint this fantasy of what a power couple we would be if we were in business together. I would pull back and not say anything and just ride the waves. Then he would blame his depression moments on me, saying I stopped caring. No matter what things I did, it was never enough. I was pouring my all in this relationship, and he was not doing the same to me. Yet he made as though women are complicated, therefore it was a lot for him to be with me. I expressed how confused I was in the relationship and even offered relationship counseling. He broke up with me saying I was selfish and owed him an apology. I wouldn't apologize because I didn't understand what I did wrong. Even after our breakup, he would find ways to send me messages that the breakup was all my fault and I was not genuinely in love with him because I did not fight for us. If anything, I feel bamboozled, sincerely lost.
Wow. Well, sincerely, Lost, I hope you're on the line with us today, or at least watching us, or hopefully you catch this show a little bit later on, because I do sympathize with you, and I do want to share with you that both parties in most relationships feel that way from time to time. But I believe what I've found to be effective in any relationship, whether it's personal or business relationship, is the ability to focus not on the other person, because that other person has a responsibility to grow themselves and to continue to analyze whether or not what they're doing is creating or is having a positive effect on the relationship. But then, so one person has to, each person in that relationship have to take on that as a personal responsibility, and that's as something that they owe to the relationship. Their self-growth, their self-development, their ability to be able to be the best that they can be, even under the toughest conditions, as the relationship begin to grow. Because at the point that at the point you begin to point your fingers at the other person, what happens is it almost seems as if you believe, as I believe was stated in the letter, that you are the one in the relationship that is faultless. But that's never the case. That's never the case, because these mixed signals are always, they're like waves within the relationship. And sometimes we're not interpreting those signals correctly. If we come from different backgrounds, as an example, you'll find out that there's sometimes just how you project your voice to someone who's not used to, having someone being loud around them would feel like you're trying to intimidate them, or vice versa. Because again, this is not about male, female, or it's about the two partners within that relationship formulating what's important, what are the most positive aspects of themselves to project in the relationship. And as these other things begin to show up, how to then mitigate those things. You know what I mean? How to mitigate them. If you see the other person feeling down, if you call that or label that person as weak, then actually, I believe the person that's actually really weak is you. Because if you're a true partner to that person, whether it's business or otherwise, you're supposed to, find out what's going on, and then begin to work together to get back to a sense of balance.
And I think that's what she was saying, that she was trying to, whenever he was going through something, she was there, but then whenever he asked her for advice on something, or critique on something, she gives the advice or critique, and then he'll use that and turn around, throw that in her face and say, "Oh, so this is what you thought about me."
Yeah. See, and that's I believe, because that person, or he was probably a little underdeveloped. Because there's a lot of boys masquerading as man out here, a lot, as well as women and the opposite sex as well. But I can speak for, there's a lot of boys masquerading as men. So just because you 6 foot, 280 and all that, that doesn't actually make you a man. I mean, that makes you a male, but it doesn't make you a man. A man is grown, is one that, as well as a woman, is someone who has cultivated themselves, who have come to the knowledge of self, both spiritually, emotionally, who have went through some things and asked themselves why, and have overcome those things that those dark things within all of us at times that causes us not to be the best that we can be, and become, in every moment, the best that they can be. I believe that's my personal description of what I believe a man or a woman or someone in a true relationship is being to be able to master yourself, which is the bottom line.
And I want to also say, before we answer you, Kathy, that also, when you're in a relationship, and in this relationship, because he knows that you're in this relationship and this is a relationship, and if you have to also have these boundaries, and also have these what do they call these? I forgot the word, but it's like certain things is just a no-go. It's time to cut and run side, so if it's a type of thing where, okay, the moment he put his hands on me, I'm gone. The moment he started belittling me and and like he don't want to agree to no counseling so y'all can have a meeting of mind, then that means you're not even, even on the same page as me or working things out. It's time for me to go, because sometimes you just have to be willing to relinquish and stop trying to hold on to something, because holding on is only going to destroy you and lower your self-esteem. And if it's, you also too, when you're leaving, you take that time to assess whether it's something that you could have done, so that way when you're in the next relationship, you're not bringing that baggage from that previous relationship.
Right. And I had a friend that called herself a serial monogamist, because she did, she was one that would set boundaries quickly. She's like, these are my boundaries, and as soon as you slip past these boundaries, I'm out. But again, I go back, I would take time to say, look, a relationship is about building something. It's not necessarily just the me and the you in the relationship. It's just one component of the relationship. It's not the whole relationship.
Yeah.
It is what we're building together is the formulation of the relationship. What are we building together? Because when, to assess whether or not we're doing good within a relationship, we can go back and say, you know what? We planned a trip, right? That's a part of a building process. You and I, we decided we're going to go to Hawaii. We sat down and actually map out from the beginning of the trip all the way to to coming back home. And in the process of that mapping, as we begin to see what we've planned together come to fruition, then we can say, this is where that real chemistry, because some people talk about chemistry, but chemistry is not just something that is invisible. It's visible because when you apply it to something, right? And I believe that's where most people begin to falter, in that their focus is on the other person, what that other person, satisfying the other person needs, satisfying the other person wants. But they, the interesting thing about people, we are fickle, right? So you might, I've run into a situation where someone said, I've given you my all. And I've also counseled people where they say, I've given him my all. And when I counsel the male would say, well, I'm not sure if you're giving me your all, because all I actually wanted was, for us to go walking in the park. But every time, I asked you to go walking in the park, you said no, but yeah, you cook my meal, you wash my clothes, you help me with the kids, but you won't do those things that I consider intimate. I've heard that both from males as well as females.
And I'm going to put Kathy's question back up on the screen.
Okay.
It says, Lenny, one thing I learned is, okay, this is the next one. One thing I've learned is the relationship people have with their own families, good or bad, can cause problems later on in life. What do you think?
That is true. That is true. But that is true just to a certain point. Because again, if your relationship if you qualify your relationship as, I'm in a relationship with this other person and this other person is in a relationship with me, but you're not building anything, then there's any factor can come in your relationship into this thing that you call a relationship and affect it. Anything can come in. So that means an outsider can come in and see that you're not building anything and begin to disrupt it. And an outsider can be a physical person or a thought. You can start thinking about how you were treated in the last relationship that you call a relationship, and then next thing you know, it begins to affect your current relationship. But again, if you look, so I would ask anyone that is listening to us or watching us right now, ask yourself, in the past month, what have I built with my mate? What have we done together that we can see something tangible? What is this tangible thing that we've built? When was the last time we both cooked together, right? Cleaned together. These are just simple examples, because these are things you got to do every day anyway, right? When was the last time we both chose the restaurant, chose actually where we wanted to sit in the restaurant, and we did it as a corporate, in a corporate fashion, right? Where we did it as a corporation, so to speak. Because notice, in the business world, it starts off with a mission statement. I can ask you right now, how many people who consider themselves in a relationship have a mission statement for their relationship?
I never thought of that. Shut your mouth.
You know, hey, look, now I'm gonna have to, I'm talking to you from my cup now. I ain't playing with you.
Man.
I ain't playing with you today now. I'm gonna tell it like it is.
Like it is.
You know, but yeah, you can ask yourself, you know, and I'm asking everyone I'm challenging every one of you that's going to hear this, that's going to watch this as well as hear it. How many of you have started a relationship by saying, "Hey, let's decide what we're going to be together. Let's decide what we're going to accomplish." Right? Your mission statement. You know what your values are. How many people in relationships right now talk about what is valuable to them as the individual, not the values that are inherited from your parents or from other people that you thought are important, but values that you decide of all those things that I've inherited, these are the ones that are important to me. How many people talk about that in their relationship?
Right.
How many people say these are our objectives for the month, right? This is what we're going to accomplish.
And Kathy I had to back up a little bit too, because her other question was, what answer do you have for someone who thinks it's okay to cheat on their spouse? And she's not talking about herself.
I would say if you have to cheat on someone that you're with, you just need not to be with them, you know, and that's pretty much it. Because if you're not in a relationship where both of you have decided it's an open relationship and we can see other people, then what happens is you bring a virus in. The cheater connects to a virus. That virus come home with that cheater, and then that cheater contaminates the family. But I will always go back to this before you switch it. I'm gonna go back to this. If you're in that relationship and you are not building anything, then you create the opportunities for these other things to come about. You know what I mean? How is a man or a woman or your partner? Why would a partner cheat on you if every day each of you know what you're doing for each other, to each other, and with each other? You're doing that for, to, and with. If you're doing those three things every day, you'll find out there ain't gonna be no room to cheat. Because your mind gonna be on your partner, and your partner mind is gonna be on you.
Well, that's a good point right there. For, to, and with. I like that.
Holla at me now. Holla at me.
I'm gonna shut my mouth while you keep on talking.
Okay, but so that's one of the things that I wanted to share with y'all. Because again, if you don't treat, and I've heard this before, I can't tell you where. If you treat your relationship like a business, like a good business, like the best possible business, you'll find out at the end, even if it ends, both of you would have gained enormously out of the relationship. I'm telling you, you'll find out that most relationships, most breakups, and to include divorces, people end up with nothing, right? But if you were building a relationship and building it like a corporation, even if you broke up, your partner would be wealthy and you would be wealthy. You know why? Because your mind would be on your money and your money would be on your mind.
Right.
Doing that together, you're not gonna fail.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. But keep on talking.
Okay, let's take it on to the next. I know.
Well, can you just like close us out with some great points? Well, actually, while you closing out with your great points, can you because I don't know, like what services or books do you have out, or anything that you would like to share, and then also close us out with some great points to leave off with.
Okay, I've got a book out called The Power of Mentorship, because this is where the rubber meets the road. There are so many of us that don't know what it is to be in a relationship, whether it's a business relationship or whether it's a personal relationship. So when the rule is, when you don't know something, find out for yourself or find someone who knows what you don't know, and then begin to learn from that person. That's why we have teachers, right? Of all different forms and types. When you go to the gym, if you don't know, what machine does what, there's someone there who can tell you this is this machine, give you the name of the machine and what it does and how it helps you. So I've got a book called The Power of Mentor. It covers a variety of topics because it includes several other authors as well. So get The Power of Mentorship, and it will help you open your mind and grow a little bit. Key point, which would be, if I had to leave you with something, a golden nugget, my golden nuggets with this. When you get into a relationship, form your relationship as you are forming a corporation, so that you don't, in the end, you have what it is, a corporation. And that's what it takes. A relationship is two entities coming together, cooperating to build and create something. I'll share with you what I share with my sisters often. Don't go into if you're going into a relationship that is for now, don't treat it as forever. Make up your mind. Because there are times where you're going to be like, yo, two people get together, yo, we just want to have a good time. Just for a moment. You know that sound. Just for an hour.
Okay.
But it can be that way because we're free. We're free. And it's okay to be that way. But don't go into that type of relationship if you already know this is just a fling or something you're just gonna do. Kick it on the side and treat it as if all of a sudden now this is gonna lead to marriage. And always analyze your relationship to find out whether or not you are building together with your partner. Because if you're not building, you don't really have a relationship. What you have is a dependency.
Okay, and you can also, they can inbox you or join, come to your Facebook page and find you and all your other information.
Yeah, just inbox me if you have any questions, or if you want to carry this conversation a little farther, because I do mentoring, coaching as well. Not necessarily just relationship, but business coaching, but I do relationship coaching as well. But I'll tell you the way I coach as well as mentor, I'm gonna tell you, you got to be responsible. That you have to make those decisions that you know are in the best interest of yourself, your family, and those who you're charged with. So hit me up at Lenny at venerableinc.com, or hit me, inbox me at Lenny on Facebook. You'll find me on Facebook as Lenny Augustine. Can't be missed.
Okay. And I just want to say to you guys, also check out lovealways.today on my website. And if you haven't had a chance to view this live broadcast and you want to view it at a later date and you don't see it on here on Facebook, it'll be there on the lovealways.today site. If you have any suggestions or want to send a letter for our tea time session, inbox me at lovealways, LOVEALAW, and the number 5 at yahoo.com. Tune in next week where my topic is finding truth. This session will be learning how to differentiate between what we thought was real and what is actually true. Until next week, remember to be a promotion and not be emotion.
Thank you.